Zelensky from ravaged Kharkiv urges Biden and Xi to join peace summit. Come on, guys, we are going to have great dip.
Yeah.
We have cucumber dip, also jalapeno poppers.
Right.
President Volodymyr Zelensky appealed to U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. How do you say it?
Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping. Xi. It's like she. It's not she and it's not Z. It's like a mix.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Jinping. Yeah, that's why we call ourselves the China experts.
Yeah.
On Sunday to attend his, we got to call Max. Max, how the fuck do you say
How do you say this? Yeah.
On Sunday to attend his peace summit as Ukraine struggles to stave off unrelenting attacks by Russia in its 27-month-old invasion.
He would be an impossible, like a Wheel of Fortune solution. If the puzzle were Xi Jinping, no one would get it.
No one would get it.
You have to pronounce it right, or we can't give it to you.
That's well, I understand they play that game with prisoners there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they do to the Uyghurs.
yeah, that's what they do to the Uyghurs.
Ukraine.
They have Pat Sajak move in and torture them with Wheel of Fortune, unsolvable Wheel of Fortune puzzles.
Mistress Vanna wants us out in the fields. Ukraine hopes to host as many countries as possible at Kiev-led talks in Switzerland next month aimed at uniting global opinion on how to halt the war and piling pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has not been invited. I heard they have great dip. Why I don't get an invite? Zelensky spoke in an English language video recorded in the northeastern city of Kharkiv inside the charred remains of a printing house that was destroyed on Thursday in a Russian missile strike. He said more than 80 countries would attend. That's not bad. But it was unclear whether Biden would be there, nor is Beijing, which maintains close ties with Moscow, said whether it would attend. A U.S. official said on Sunday that the United States will participate in the summit, but declined to say who or at what level. Quote, I am appealing to the leaders of the world who are still aside from the global efforts of the Global Peace Summit, to President Biden, the leader of the United States, and to President Xi, the leader of China, said Zelensky. Please show your leadership in advancing the peace, the real peace, and not just a pause between the strikes, he said. Zelensky added that the summit would show who in the world really wants to end the war. You don't want to be one of the people who shows he doesn't want to end the war, do you?
Right.
Nice reverse psychology there.
Yeah.
Kiev, in its peace plan, calls for a full withdrawal of Russian troops and a restoration of its internationally recognized borders. Oh, yeah, no, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. Something Moscow considers a non-starter. Last week, Russian sources told Reuters that Putin was ready to halt the war in Ukraine with a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines. Well, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I would take it if I were you.
Of course.
In response, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said that the Russian leader was trying to derail the Switzerland event because he was scared of its success.
Yeah, right.
He's shaken. His entourage sends these phony signals of alleged readiness for a ceasefire, despite the fact that Russian troops continue to brutally attack Ukraine while their missiles and drones rain down on Ukrainian cities and communities, he wrote on X. Russia has previously said it sees no point in Ukraine's conference. Well, hey, you know how you could get them to stop attacking? Maybe agree to their terms. And if they're lying, they won't stop. And then you could say, see, they didn't mean it.
Of course. I mean, the idea that you can end this now by agreeing to define territory according to where the front lines are at. I mean, how do you not sign on that line? And what the hell difference does it make to Vladimir Putin how many world leaders you get to show up at a peace conference that he's not invited to?
Right.
Like if they're not if Russia is not invited there, then it's not really a peace summit. It's a show of diplomatic strength behind Ukraine, which the world has already shown. Some of the world, much of the world has taken Russia's side. So you're going to put on a big pageant as a show of force saying the world is united behind Ukraine. There are a lot of Western countries are backing Ukraine. And the quote-unquote rest of the world, it was a great article. I forget who wrote it at this point because it came out probably over a year ago, but we covered it. This, description of the global south as the rest of the world, even though there are far more people in the quote-unquote rest of the world than there are in the West.
I mean the world.
They're the world. It's just the world. They're not the rest of the world. They're just the world. They, at the very least, don't want World War III over this. Many of those countries are actually backing Russia. China and India alone represent, a combined almost 3 billion people by this point. And so diplomatically, the lines are already pretty much drawn. Militarily, the front lines are where they are. Russia said, we'll end this right now. Right. Every inch of land on your side of the line is yours. What's on our side of the line is ours. And their plan was never to take over Ukraine. Their plan was never to fly a Russian flag over Kyiv. Their goals are very simple: neutral Ukraine, Crimea recognizes Russian, independence for these separatist regions, which according to where the front lines are, that's how they would be drawn up at this point. The idea that there's any point, that any progress could actually be negotiated at a summit in which one side of the war, the side of the war that's winning, is not invited to, it's just nonsense. At this point, it almost seems like Zelensky's trying to save his own political ass by trying to make a show of the world coming together and negotiating an end to this war, because that looks better than him having to admit to his people he ran them through a meat grinder for nothing, because that's what actually happened. So that's maybe what this is. Because as far as this conference, what did the Russians say? They see no point. Yeah, they see no point in the conference. Of course.
Right. Unless these countries are going to attack Russia, who cares? You think Putin cares?
And they're not. If they were going to, they would have.
Care, what a bunch of feckless world leaders, mostly Western, have to say about it. They're not going to do anything beyond what they're already doing.
Right. They've already said we want to help Ukraine, but we're not willing to, take this to a point where it's World War III, or even beyond World War III. They're not even willing to commit their own men to the fight. So all you're talking about is a show of force, a show of strength, a show of unity. We've been seeing that for the past couple of years. Right. What is the point of doing that? No.
The problem with this war is that Zelensky has not had enough virtue signaling Western leaders behind him.
Exactly. If you were going to bring the Russians in and bring everybody to the table, both the BRICS countries and the G7, NATO and the G7, that's a peace conference.
Like the idea of a peace conference without one of the belligerents is nonsense. It's absurd. Right. It's unintelligible. What are you doing?
Exactly. Like, if everyone's invited, then it's a peace conference. If not everyone's invited, it's just a show. And that's what I mean. I feel like the part of his motivation is to try and make it look like he's taking less of an L than he is. Because for all the bullshit that he was sold at the beginning by Biden and by Boris Johnson, oh yeah, you're going to be the next Churchill. I think he bought that at the time because he's a comedian. He's a schmuck. He doesn't know any better. I think he bought into that. And then by the time he realized, oh my God, not only am I not Churchill, I have just sold my country out to the West. I've just run my people through a meat grinder for Northrop Grumman to have a few good quarters. Like, can I go back to my people and say that? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I'm Custer. Right. Yeah. Can I go back to my people and say that? Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to make this look better than it is.
Well, I think he's doing it to try to keep the West committed to his cause. I think that's what he's doing it for. He wants to do this big propaganda thing. Yep, we're all in this together. We're all still committed to this cause, because he can feel that slipping away.
Please clap.